Hi friend, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm comparing 9 different overnight flow pads, including ultra thin pads and maxi pads. By the way, if you are new here, welcome. My name is Tanya, and on this channel I share self-help videos for women, including tutorials, reviews, and educational videos. If that is something that you're interested in, go ahead and hit subscribe. And if you're coming back, as always, welcome back. Let's go over the names of the pads that we're testing out in this video. So we have Stay Free, Carefree Breathe, Honeypot, Always Radiant size 5, You by Kotex All Nighter, Always Overnight size 4, Always Overnight size 5, You by Kotex Security, and the last one is Always Overnight size 6. So let's go ahead and go over what I'm using in this video. So I have a syringe here, and this is going to be used to measure out the liquid equally. And as for the liquid, I am using beet juice. So we are going to test all of the ultra thins first, then the maxis, and towards the end of the video, I'll bring everything together and we'll do a comparison. I think it's important to mention that I've already tried these pads before for one cycle, and they all worked well for the days that I use them for. However, if you have a very heavy flow like me, some of these pads will definitely work better than others. So we're just taking off the wrappers and we're laying everything down. All of these pads are wing pads, and some of them do have double wings for overnight protection. Just as a reminder, this little experiment isn't going to perfectly replicate what actually happens when you have a pad on and you're bleeding, obviously, but we're just going to do it anyway and see what happens when we add 50 milliliters of liquid to each pad. So let's go ahead and get started. So here are all the pads laid out. I wanted to quickly give you a look at those. And again, we're doing 50 milliliters per pad to make sure that everything is equal and fair. Okay, so we're going to start out with the Stay Free Overnight first. So when I tried this pad this month, I actually used it on one of my heavy days, the first day actually, during the morning time. And it worked extremely well. And as I'm doing this little test, this is pretty much what it did. Everything stayed in the center, which is great. So I didn't have any leaks, and I didn't have any issues with it being scented. So that one's a great one. I personally cannot wear it overnight because it will be too small for me, but there are other options that I'll share with you in this video for heavy flows. Moving on to the next pad, we have Carefree Breathe. Now that I'm looking at the Stay Free and the Carefree side by side, they look almost identical, and they also perform the same. So these would be great for a very heavy flow during the daytime or a regular flow during the nighttime. But if I had to choose one over the other, I would definitely go for the Stay Free because it's scented and it smells really good. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one. We have Honeypot. A few months ago, I uploaded a video sharing with you my thoughts on this particular pad and what my experience was the first time I used it. And I'll have that linked in the cards if you want to go watch it. This one has really good absorbency. I didn't have any leaks when I used it. However, it's not the most absorbent. So it's not ideal for me for the first and second night. So to be on the safe side, if I do wear these, it will probably be for day 3 and beyond. Word of caution, if you have sensitive skin, this one is infused with essential oils, so be careful with that. Overall, it's a great option if you're looking for an organic pad. Moving on to the next pad, we have Always Radiant. Now, in comparison to the ultra thins, the infinities are super thin. That can be a good thing and a bad thing depending on how you look at it. It's very comfortable. However, it doesn't hold a ton of liquid. So if you have a very heavy flow, this is going to be a disaster when you wake up. And you'll see that as I'm demonstrating in the video. As I mentioned before, they are super comfortable, so I will continue to buy them for the daytime. But again, they're not the best option for me for the nighttime. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one. We have You by Kotex All Nighter. This pad is the only ultra thin that I'll consider wearing for a heavy flow during the nighttime. When I tried this during the daytime, it was way too big, so it's definitely a nighttime pad, even if you have a heavy flow. If you have a very heavy flow, I would definitely recommend trying this one out at some point. We're going to set the ultra thins aside and let them absorb and move on to the maxis and then bring back the ultra thins at the end. So just as a recap, we have always size 4, size 5, and size 6. And then on the very end, we have You by Kotex Security Overnight. So again, these are all wing pads. Most of these are double winged for overnight protection. And they're also designed to push blood to the back of the pad when you are laying down at night. In my opinion, sizes 5 and 6 are perfect for any abnormal bleeding due to uterine fibroids or another medical condition. They also work well for postpartum bleeding, or if you're a plus size gal and those little pads aren't doing anything for you, you might want to try these. So let's go ahead and start the test. And we're also still using 50 milliliters of liquid. Starting out with Always Size 4. This is actually one of the pads that I used for a very long time before I dealt with uterine fibroids. But during this season of my life, I use them during the daytime on day 1 or day 2. I think these will work best for a light nighttime flow. They're not super long, so you're not going to get a lot of overnight protection in the back. So if you actually sleep on your back at night, these might not work as well, especially if you have a regular to heavy flow. Also, it has a breathable layer on top, so it takes a little bit longer for the liquid to absorb in the pad. So that can be a really bad thing if you're getting up from a long night's sleep and you're going to the bathroom. Moving on, we have Always Overnight Extra Heavy size 5. This is the one that I used for a long time, but I always had to put a pad underneath it. And I made a video about my overnight routine, and I'll leave that in the cards in the corner if you want to go watch it. But yes, I do have to have something under it just to make sure that nothing leaks out, because I don't get up at night to change the pad. I actually sleep in. For some people that sounds totally gross, and that's okay. But for me personally, if I do get up in the middle of the night, it's very difficult for me to go back to sleep, and it disrupts my sleeping habits. So I have to have something in place so I can actually sleep at least 7 hours. So as you can see, as I'm putting the liquid on the pad, it's pushing all the liquid to the back of the pad, which is what it's designed to do. It's going to keep you dry in the center, and everything else is going to go in the back. If you have a very heavy flow, I would definitely recommend getting that one for sure. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. We have the Always Overnight size 6, or Always Z. This is actually one of the extension sizes that they offer for very, very heavy flows. FYI, when I unboxed these and weighed them on the scale to compare them to the size 5s, they were only 2 grams more than the size 5s, and they were the exact same size, as you can see. So I was a little skeptical. I was like, okay, I probably just wasted my money. However, size 6 is hands down better than size 5. The texture is different, the material is different, it's more absorbent, and it holds more liquid, period. So if I had to choose between the two, I would go with size 6. Moving on to the last pad, we have the U by Kotex Security Overnight. This pad is also super soft, very absorbent, and I had 0 issues with it. So just like the Always Overnight size 6, it's the only pad that I can wear without using anything extra. So that is amazing. And I wasn't expecting that, but this one performed well, and I would definitely buy it again. So we're gonna let that sit for a little while, and then we're gonna bring out all the pads and do the final ranking. So let's go ahead and get started. Number 9, I'm going with Always Radiant. Number 8, I'm going with Always Overnight size 4. Number 7, Honeypot Overnight. Number 6, Carefree Breathe. Number 5, Stay Free Overnight. Number 4, I'm going with U by Kotex Ultra Thin All Nighter. Number 3, Always Maxi Overnight size 5. Number 2, U by Kotex Security Overnight. And number 1 is Always Z Overnight size 6. So there's my opinions on the best overnight pads. If this video was helpful, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up and consider subscribing for more videos like this. The next video is on the screen. Until next time.